Hey, my name is James Nicholson and welcome to this channel. Now join us on a journey on this channel where we're building property portfolios. We're expanding my portfolio. We're building a portfolio for my daughter George, who's 21, and we're building a portfolio for my daughter Emily, who is 1. To join us on that journey, the easiest way to do it is to smash the subscribe button. Do it now. Hit the bell notification. We've got new content every single day. We're going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. You can already check out other videos on here of our recent purchase up in Doncaster and see how that one is going. So, yesterday was the Queen's speech. Prince Charles did it. And it had quite a few things in there that were related to property and property investors. So I wanted to unpack that and go through that with you here today so you can really get thinking on what impact that will have on you as an investor. Now, one of the things that was first talked about was Section 21, right? So Section 21 is a law or a rule that allows landlords to get rid of tenants. And they're going to make that or abolish that and make it a lot more difficult to get rid of tenants. So you can't just get rid of a tenant just because you want to, which I think is good. But you also are going to have a real reason, like they've damaged your property, or you want to move back in yourself, or potentially they're in massive arrears. Now, the problem is if you took someone to court to evict them and they were in arrears, if they suddenly caught up to date, then you wouldn't be able to proceed with that, and then they could just get it back into arrears and you could be playing cat and mouse, wasting lots of money. So here's what I think will happen when Section 21 gets abolished. I think landlords are going to be a lot more particular about who they rent to. They're only going to go for the A1 tenants. Of course they are, right? They're not going to want to take many risks. Now, that means that there is going to be some difficulty for certain people to find somewhere to rent. That's going to push rents potentially up, and it's just going to mean a difficult scenario. Now, also, I don't think that if you have a property in a limited company that you'll be able to say that you want to go back and live there because you don't own it. The limited company owns it. So that could be a downside as well. So I think on the whole, Section 21, we want tenants to be looked after. We want good landlords out there. We don't want rogue landlords. Nobody does. That doesn't benefit anybody. But I do think that landlords are going to be more selective on who they rent to. So that's part one. Other things were that the government's trying to build 300,000 houses a year. They're not hitting that target still. That's going to be reflective in house prices, isn't it? So house prices are supply and demand. And if there is not enough supply, then the prices won't be able to crash. Now, it might stop them going up. Interest rates going up is going to be one of the key leading factors on that, and inflation and affordability as well. But I don't think there's going to be a massive crash if we're not building enough. And so the government have got to come up with ways to do that, to allow investors and developers to get their projects through. Because there's lots of people that want to build houses, but there's lots of red tape around that, which makes it really, really difficult. That leads me on to one other thing, which I'm not really sure what I think about this one. And that's the planning reform. So planning can be a little complicated if you want to get planning on a property to build an extension. And it can be something that can be quite slow. Now, they're angling it that it will be easier going forward because you'll just get your neighbours to vote, and if enough of them, 2/3 of them, vote that you're okay to do some work, then you can go ahead without having to wait for all the planning. Now, where that's a problem is people get jealous, right? Everyone that I know that's wanted to get planning, it's the neighbours that try to stop it, and they still get it through because maybe the planning department will grant it. But if you're reliant on your neighbours to approve or disapprove your planning, I just don't think that's going to work. An example is I own a 1-bedroom property in Dorking in Surrey, and I requested for 2 years to be able to add an additional bedroom. Now, this wouldn't be anything exterior work at all. The other freeholders in the block, of which there are 3 of them, there's 4 properties, I own 1, the other freeholders would have no idea that the other bedroom was even there, but I wanted to make sure that we did this above board. Now, they just didn't want that to happen because they didn't want me to increase the value of my property. They even admitted that, right? And it was a real argument for years and years and years. And effectively, we got that over the line, but it cost money. Like it cost quite a lot of money in legal fees to get that approved. And I can't imagine if you're going to put an extension on, your neighbours are unlikely to say yes. So that's going to stop, I believe, quite a few projects going through. My girlfriend's family member, they wanted to do some work recently. They did do some work, and it took like a couple of years to officially get the planning through, and that was because the neighbour next door was not happy. They kept having meetings about it and complaining because they said that the drilling, because they were putting a basement in, would cause so much noise and devalue their house and stuff like that. So I just don't see that being a good part of this bill. I think there's going to be way more disputes, way less stuff happening. And look, we're short houses, we're short of space. People need to be able to do stuff. They need to be able to add extension, add bedrooms and stuff like that. And people are working from home more now going forward. I think the culture's changed around that. So I just don't see that as a good part. One other thing that I'm really unsure how this one will work is commercial property. And so if there's shops, for example, that isn't being rented out, the council potentially are going to be able to take that off you and rent it out for you, right? Now, here's the thing. If I'm a landlord, I'm going to want to rent it out anyway, right? So I just don't see that the landlord would be holding back trying to rent it out to somebody. If there's people that are willing, I don't see why the council are going to need to step in. And I think if you are a commercial landlord, you've probably got multiple limited companies and you're going to be able to easily just rent it out to yourself, right? And just leave it vacant still. You could easily rent it out to another business that you own, and that would block that going through anyway. So I just don't see that being a smart strategy. I think more of the high street just needs to be turned into residential. We're short of residential properties, and we have too many commercial shops in this country that are just never going to come back. We've moved online now. Habits have changed. People get their groceries online. They get all the stuff from Amazon and ASOS and all these places. They're not in the high streets like they used to be. So I just don't see the high streets going to come back. Commercial, other offices and warehouses, that stuff's really strong in demand because of this internet stuff. People will run businesses from offices and they need warehouses, like I did for my first business, which was an iPod accessory retailer. I had a huge 3,000 foot warehouse stocked to the roof with stuff. So that's what I think in a nutshell. That so I think from the summary of that, I think Section 21, look, that's going to potentially mean that landlords are going to be more selective. I think that trying to force landlords to rent out their commercial property. I think if you've got a commercial property and you want to make some money, you're going to go for a tenant, right? I also think the planning stuff's crazy. Like, I just can't see that being successful. I think that's just going to cause so much ill will between neighbours and stuff like that. I mean, I've had disputes with neighbours, as probably you have, either a neighbour doing something to you or you doing something to a neighbour. I just think it's just going to cause so much more resentment in local areas. But that's not for me to decide, is it? But that's a summary of the Queen's Speech. I'd love to know what you think is going to happen. So do comment below, guys. Let me know what you thought of the speech. Or let me know, if you didn't watch it, let me know what you think of those ideas that were mentioned there. Do like this video, guys, and do subscribe. Remember, we're on a journey here. We're investing in properties, and we're going to show you exactly what we're doing and teach you some stuff along the way. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I've just secured a new deal on Friday I can't tell you about it on here right now until it completes. But where you can find out more about it is in my Facebook group. So in the description of this video is a link. You can join our Facebook community. You can ask questions there, share stuff, share your wins, share whatever's going on in your property journey, however experienced you are. So join us there and have a conversation. And once that new deal gets over the line, I'll be sharing everything on how we did that. I'm James Nicholson. Stay blessed, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye for now.